So the first issue of the podcast is we need a name for the podcast. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I'm disappointed that someone already took Growing Up Stupid.
Yes.
Because I love that name, and I hate that someone else thought of it.
And I'm sure that ours is better.
Ours is better.
I don't think they really grew up that stupid. I'm not convinced.
You just alter it to Growing Up Stupider.
You could. Any other ideas?
Pack Fever. No.
Pack Attack, Pack Land,
Yep.
Pack in Time. That's one.
Pack and Pals,
Super Pac-Man.
Pac-Man 2.
Miss Pac-Man.
Pac-Man Jr. Or is it Pac Jr.?
Did you say Pack Attack?
You know,
Man,
say
I
it
don't
again.
remember.
How about Penny Men?
Penny Man?
Instead of Penny Boys, Penny Men.
What's a Penny Boy?
That's what you call me.
Oh! Penny Boy, the Penny Boy.
But it's like penny for your thoughts.
There you go.
That's
I love it. I love like double meanings of stuff. Like double.
That's why you make the big bucks.
Yeah, you make those pennies you steal from me.
True.
Penny Man.
Penny Men. That's what I was thinking.
I like that. I really do.
And then it could just be about anything instead of...
You gotta have like... You gotta start it with like a coin.
Ding. Welcome
Yeah,
to Penny
like
Men.
ding.
Penny for your thoughts.
Penny for your thoughts.
Put your 2 cents in.
See?
It writes itself.
Yeah, I mean, we come up with the intro. It doesn't have to be the same every time, but I bet you we'd come into like a pattern.
Yeah.
Like, welcome to Penny Men, where we give our 2 cents.
There
And
you
the
go.
jokes write themselves.
You could write a little song about like nickels and dimes. It's like, it's not nickels, not dimes. It's Penny Man. I don't know.
I think it's decided.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
any songs
Show
that
of
want to
hands.
be contributed are certainly
Or
also
do we just like live write a song every time?
like Speemail.
Yeah.
That's an idea. I like the idea. And it's decided that it is Penny Men.
Yes.
Fantasy Draft Lineup is a segment on the Penny Men. It has been decided forever. For all time.
Gavel sound
Yep.
effect.
Gavel sound effect. I've never done like sound effects and stuff in a podcast, really. I always
We
put
should-
music, but I've
Oh.
never done...
We could become Foley artists,
Yes.
which is amazing stuff to
Do you
watch.
have scripts of old radio shows? A lot of those are podcasts. Do you know that?
I did not know that.
You can listen to the old tapes. They like
Nice.
released them like as podcast episodes
Awesome.
of a lot
I
of
know
that.
like radiospirits.com.
What a book that was a bunch of stories from the Sherlock Holmes radio show that weren't adapted to the books, but I don't remember if they just changed it into a book format or if it's just a script.
You need that.
Got any
shit.
topics, Greg? I
Oh, my
told you to
goodness.
come prepared,
Yeah, you did.
with a
and then
topic.
I forgot.
and then it was like 5 minutes later, and now I'm putting you on the spot.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, you had a good idea. Tom and I brought some duplicate comics that we have, and we were going to ask Benjamin if he wants them.
I will take them.
Well, this has been the Penny Men. Thanks for listening.
Are you giving me the Marvel ones too, and these DC ones, or just these?
Yes.
Oh, wait, there's more.
Yeah, so my 3 that I'm handing him are Justice League of America
Number 219
and
number 120, 193 and number 170 something, but it's cut off.
is it?
Yeah,
Oh, I gave you the beat up one.
it's just like a crooked cover.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes the printing of that is off kilter.
These are sweet. I grew up with these. I like the JLA and the JSA. These are what? They're all crossovers?
2 of them are, yes.
The All-Star Squadron and the Justice Society.
So in DC Comics, they decided that their Golden Age stuff from the 40s and 50s would be a different continuity from their Silver and Bronze Age stuff from the 60s and
Are
70s.
you explaining pre-crisis?
Just a quick
Yeah.
overlap.
For the audience at home.
Yeah. So they decided that there was 2 Supermans, 2 Flashes, 2 Green Lanterns, 2 Batmen.
And there were.
Yes and no.
They brought back... I was trying to figure this out with my dad the other day.
You have a dad? No, I know your dad.
They know my dad, folks. Gregory just has short-term memory
Yeah, because I was so prepared for this podcast.
He came with a topic. He came with a stack of comics. And that's all you need. On the Penny Men, he pays pennies for these folks.
Yeah, 100 pennies for these ones.
Hours of entertainment. 100 pennies a piece. These are dollar bin?
Actually, I got a stack of like 20 for $10, so it was 50 cents.
50-cent bin? I remember the quarter bin.
Yeah.
What's this guy's name? This yellow guy?
Dr. Fate.
That's Dr. Fate?
Yeah.
Oh, he looks like that other
he
more
looks
modern
like the Guardian,
guy, the Guardian.
Because he has that half mask instead of the full one that you're used to.
So they canceled a bunch of the superheroes in the Silver Age.
What happened was the Silver Age in the late 50s started with, in Showcase Comics at DC, they wanted to create a new Flash. Say, okay, let's give him a new origin, new secret identity, new costume. Like, this is a completely new character.
And it was Barry Allen.
Right. Originally, it was Jay Garrick.
It's it was kind of to make them less pulpy and more, like,
Right.
It's the age of the atomic bomb and stuff, so it was like a little more sci-fi-ish.
Did he get his powers in a different way?
No, they both just got hit by lightning.
Okay.
Holding some random chemicals.
So a little more sci-fi-ish, but...
So that was the beginning of what we termed the Silver Age of comics. And then they started reinventing a lot of their heroes, such as Green Lantern was originally Alan Scott, had a weakness to wood and a magic ring. And then he was replaced with Hal Jordan, who has a alien ring that has a weakness to yellow.
A technology ring.
Yeah.
So just random...
It was whoever they felt like. The Atom got changed. Hawkman was changed enough. Superman and Batman, to begin with, they didn't treat as a different character.
Because they never got canceled.
Right.
Correct.
They just kept going.
Yes.
That's why it's confusing.
Yeah, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman were their character titles that actually continued from the onset onward. They never stopped printing those.
Aquaman and the Green Arrow consistently stayed around, but they weren't really like titles that were backups.
And even DC forgets that Aquaman was a Golden Age hero.
But they are the same guys.
Yes.
Or are there two Aquamans?
There's only one Aquaman. There's two Green Arrows, though.
How? Come on. I believe you.
It was just they were acting like everything was new. That's basically it.
How many Hawkmans are there?
Two.
Just two?
Carter Hall and Katar Hall.
One's an alien and one's a reincarnation.
Of an alien.
Of an Egyptian.
Right.
So anyway.
So they decided the old stories were on a different Earth.
Right, because the new stories were much more unique and sci-fi based. And
also, when they introduced the second Barry Allen Flash, he had established that he grew up reading a comic book of the original Jay Garrick Flash, in this continuity, Jay Garrick is a fictional character.
There you go.
And to get around that, they had them cross into different dimensions or different
vibrations.
Is that in the comic where they vibrate so much that they go and meet each other?
Yep.
Yeah, they vibrate their whole bodies and use their molecules to go through dimensions context.
Because the idea is all dimensions are occupying the same space, but at different vibrations.
Of course. So if you can vibrate quickly enough.
Right. So with that, they decided that the Golden Age heroes were Earth 2, whereas the Silver Age were Earth 1.
And I don't know how they knew that they were Earth 2 and the other ones were Earth 1.
Right.
But they knew.
They just knew. This caused a bunch of little crossovers here and there, but in the Justice League of America comics, they made it an annual event where every summer they would have at least 2-issue crossover with the Justice League and the Earth 2 Justice Society.
Which is a lot like the Justice League, but it's the other set of characters.
They started in All-Star Comics number 3.
But really, they both have a Superman, right?
Yeah. Well, not originally.
Right.
Eventually, yes, they decided that Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman were different enough. So Earth 2's Superman, they decided he should have all of the only original Action Comics powers. So he can't fly. He can only jump. He doesn't have a lot of the different supervisions.
Did he have laser vision?
I don't recall.
Sometimes.
Eventually they changed that and just said, well, he couldn't develop these powers until he got older. Then they could tell stories about this is Superman and Lois getting married, but it's Earth 2 because they're old. And old people get married, I guess.
And then did they retell the origins of Superman and Batman?
No.
Specifically, they didn't, did they?
No, that didn't happen until post-Crisis.
After Crisis when they did it.
When was Crisis? 86?
85, 86.
85, 86.
And they did Batman Year One, and they did The Man of Steel comic book.
Mm-hmm. Wonder Woman had the George Perez run.
That's right. And then Wally West was the Flash.
Yep. And
Barry Allen never existed?
No, he was just...
All of the Flash stories still existed, so everyone knew that Barry died during a crisis. No one remembers exactly what the crisis was.
But they remember Barry Allen.
Yes. So all of that is still continuity. All of Batman is still continuity, except for when they feel like it's not.
But that was more affected by changes made by Year One rather than changes made by Crisis.
But then Grant Morrison brought all of it back.
Right.
Yeah.
He did.
Oh, yeah, I read that one.
But anyway, in the context of the 3 issues of Justice League I'm giving Ben, 2 of them are part of the original yearly crossover event between Earth 1 and Earth 2. One is the death of Mr. Terrific, number 1. And then another of the issues, which Ben is looking at right now, it has what they would do to drum up excitement for some of their newer comics is they would put a sample version within their popular stuff. So this Justice League of America has a sample of the upcoming All-Star Squadron, which was writer Roy Thomas wanted to do Justice Society stories, but wanted to use everyone from the Golden Age. And since
it's the expanded lineup.
Yes. And since Justice Society started in the pages of All-Star Comics, he named the team All-Star Squadron.
The Squad.
Or ASS, if you want to abbreviate it. You have anything to add to that, Tom?
So that was a comic too. They published them both.
Yes.
The All-Star Squadron and
the All-Star Squadron took place during World War II, so everyone's in their prime, and it's not affecting
anything.
What's going on in the modern setting of the 70s and 80s stories.
And also, I only need 4 more issues of All-Star Squadron, then I'll have it all. I'll have it all, man.
The original run?
Yes.
How many comics is it?
72, maybe?
Posh.
Hey, I have all of Warlord as well.
Yeah, well, I have the first Star Trek comic. It's the reprint, but I have the first Star Trek comic.
The Gold Key version?
Yeah.
When did that come out?
The show was still on.
Nice.
So that was, what, 64?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Back to the actual issues that we have in front of us here. This Justice League of America 171. There's a scene that I really like where there's 2 Batmans. And a story that had happened recently then, the older one from Earth 2 had just died. And the Huntress, the daughter of that Batman and that Catwoman, is just kind of awkward around the Earth 1 Batman because he's a younger version of her dead father. So it's just a really nice, like, 1-page scene.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's way better than when Power Girl first appeared in a crossover of Justice League. So Power Girl is the adult version of Supergirl. So during the annual crossover, she's like, oh, this Superman's young. Better flirt with him. I was like, it's still your cousin, man. I don't care if it's a different Earth.
Hey, even in the sweet innocent times of the 50s and 60s, they kind of had a gate around that. I don't know how intentional that was, but there's a vibe. It's not.
That's so much continuity, though.
Yes.
For Huntress to talk to the other Batman and for them to remember all that, how that works. And that would have kept working if they had kept it to that amount of complexity, but they just kept adding stuff.
Yes.
And more worlds and more everything.
There's also one where Earth 1 Batman goes to Earth 2, where he hangs out with Earth 1 Robin, or Earth 2 Robin, and Earth 2 Batwoman, where their Batman is dead and his Batwoman is dead. So everyone has this kind of awkwardness of like, oh yeah, I know you watched you die, but you're not you.
So they get a reunion special.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm sorry, there's only like 57 issues of All-Star Squadron.
Are you going to get the Young All-Stars?
I have the first issue, maybe the second one. I just don't like them. I'll probably continue, but it's a lot of post-crisis stuff I'm not interested in. And I know that they lead into Neil Gaiman's The Sandman, which you didn't seem to be aware of. Yeah. They are, what's her name? Fury, daughter of Golden Age Wonder Woman.
Earth 2.
Silver Scarab, son of
Earth 2, Hawkman and Hawkwoman.
Okay. They get married, and their son becomes Dreams in Sandman.
Okay.
I think.
That was the DC Cosmic Teams website where they use like the micro heroes to chart out. I was just looking at it. They had a page on there that's the family trees of all the Justice Society people. So I was just looking at that. Yeah, got interesting. A couple of things I didn't know. Obviously, there's some characters that was like, oh, that's a really obscure person. I don't know who that is, but that's...
I know they relate. I know they reference the Golden Age Sandman in that Sandman. That's cool. It's like it's its own little corner of the DC universe, obviously, but...
And the Jack Kirby Sandman they throw in there.
From the 70s.
That's probably what I'm thinking of.
Well, I'm sure they're all in there.
Yeah, he likes to reference other, Shakespeare's in there. Everything is in Sandman. Lewis Carroll, everything.
I might be in there. Who knows?
If you're one of the guys dreaming in there, then you're in there.
Yeah, that's something to think about.
But it does kind of stand. You can do it. It's one of those ones where it's like either way. Like if you wanted to tie in, I mean, it does technically, but then it just kind of goes off in its own direction.
In case anyone was wondering, Earth 2 Batman dies in the pages of Adventure Comics. That was after the DC explosion. Or implosion, sorry.
Well, first it was an explosion, then it was an implosion. So that statement is still correct.
And was it just like random stories, like Action Comics?
So... when they revitalized the Justice Society because of the popularity of them appearing in Justice League, they decided to continue the numbering of All-Star Comics. So it was like All-Star Comics number 55, 56, I think 56. So like 20 years after the series had been canceled, they brought it back. And then they introduced the Super Squad, which was Power Girl, Adult Robin, and Star Spangled Kid, who in a Justice League story was trapped in time, so he's the same age he was in the 40s.
So they wanted characters that didn't have gray hair.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Then that went for a while, and then DC Comics had what they called an explosion of, we have all these new titles, we're going to do all these great stuff.
Yeah.
They had Firestorm, they had Shade the Changing Man, they had a bunch of other new stuff that they wanted to really make an impact on. Then there was a snowstorm that was like the worst ever.
And it was nationwide snowstorm everywhere. They could not.
Do they really blame this on a snowstorm?
Yeah, they couldn't get the comics out.
So what?
So they lost a fortune.
Okay.
So they canceled a ton of their titles, and that was called the Implosion.
Yeah.
And from that, they took whatever stories were finished and threw them into other titles. So Adventure Comics got all the All-Star Squadron, or All-Star Comics stuff. That's where they had the death of Batman.
A lot of
that
these
makes sense.
A lot of these titles had like next issues almost all ready to go, and they didn't print them until a couple of years ago. They've made collections of like Secret Society of Supervillains and Shade the Changing Man and stuff, and they finally add the uncolored.
Oh wow!
Like
final issues.
Yeah. So like, they're like inked, but they're not colored. So it's just you can get it. It's just you had to wait 40 years.
Well, Special Collectors got the canceled comic Cavalcade, which was just all of the stories that were inked, and then some of the covers of stories that they didn't finish. And
how did you get that one? It's just another title they did.
Yeah,
those like weird where they have like DC Comics, like Artist Spotlight.
Yeah,
comics and stuff like that.
I think it's a lot like that. Yeah,
that's funny. I don't think they do stuff like that anymore.
It's a lower print run because it's meant more for fans of that specific thing.
Dude, they just reboot everything 1,000 times now. They just come out with like 20. Here's our 20 new titles, and then cancel them all, and then.
But it's the same writing team usually, right? Or like the same editorial staff.
Seems like
it's just completely arbitrary. I think. I don't think it's ever tied to any. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not.
Whatever fits a trade paperback.
Or just like
sometimes
it's like
they did do that for a long time.
It's like the X-Men movies, like we're gonna do Dark Phoenix again because it didn't work out the first time, but we're gonna let the same writer write it.
Guy.
What could possibly go wrong?
Let's talk about stuff we do like.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of complaining about, just as a general rule. Not saying we were, just...
Benjamin.
Yes, Gregory.
Do you accept these Justice League?
I will take these Justice League comics. Thank you very much for giving them to me.
You're welcome.
I'll try to remember to read them.
They've been offered and accepted.
I love these guys. They got the Red Tornado in here. They got the Martian Manhunter in here. They got Superman and Batman in here. Firestorm I don't love.
Oh, Firestorm's great.
Doesn't he just cheat?
Yeah, but he's young and he's the Spider-Man personality of the group.
Yeah. Is that what they tried to do with him?
I have.
They tried to make him an A-lister, but
issues.
I never think of him as an A-lister. Do you really? No. That would actually be good to read.
Well, it was 5 issues to begin with, and then the implosion happened, so there's technically 6, I think.
But then they brought him back with a number 1 again?
Yes.
Good job, Firestorm.
Created by Jerry Conway.
Yes. Who wrote all these? Who drew those ones? Because this one's got Dick Dillon and Frank McLaglen.
Dick Dillon had a very long run on Justice League.
Okay, so they might just all be Dick Dillon.
Firestorm has a different guy in his head. He's 2 guys.
Dr. Stein. This artist is Chuck Patton and Romeo Tanghal.
Did they do that so that he would always have someone to talk to and they didn't have to give him a sidekick?
It was basically having a conscience and having a scientist when your powers are based solely on molecular structure.
They wanted him to be young, but then also know how to use his powers.
Yes.
This is completely speculation. I didn't read any interviews or anything.
Yeah, we're guessing.
What often happened was they just read a sci-fi story, and I was like, oh, that was really cool. I like that. And then start thinking about it, and then you get an idea for a superhero thing. So I was like, there was probably 2 guys that got molecularly merged.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, that happens so often, not just with comic books, but everything is you're inspired by something and you want to make it uniquely your own. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you forget that it's not something that you originally came up with. Jim Shooter has some pretty funny stories about Chris Claremont. So all the X-Men stories are like, oh, this is Alien. Oh, this is the boy who was 10 feet tall or whatever. Yeah. And it's just like, Jim Shooter, what are you doing? I see what you're doing. You're taking this stuff from other materials. Like, no, we're changing it. So it's its own unique thing. He's like, okay, fine, but
nobody knows, dude. They just at this point they can just reboot everything, take any idea, and call it anything. Yeah. It's like the Transformers, where sometimes they bring the name back and it's a continuation of the old character. Sometimes it's just a totally different guy. Has nothing to do with whatever. Yeah. How many times have they rebooted Dr. Fate and some of these guys where they've brought it back, and I'm just using him as an example, but where they've done the Jay Garrick to Barry Allen, it's a different guy with a different whatever. A lot of the C and D level guys have actually gotten the revolving door.
Yeah, the 90s and early 2000s were really bad with that. If you want to talk about Dr. Fate in the 90s.
Is that what they did?
For a while it was, what's his real name?
See, you don't know.
Kent Nelson?
Kent Nelson, yes. He didn't use the helmet anymore, so his wife took it up. And then there was this mother and son duo.
It was a hot young stepmom.
Okay.
I bring up that detail because later in that run, he gets aged up a little, and there's kind of this awkward. I don't know if they go full on. It's a romance, but they kind of go there.
Remind me what we're talking about.
Dr. Fate.
Oh, okay.
Who else gets rebooted a lot? Starman.
They always try to do.
Manhunter.
Although
this is just a DC, by the way.
Yeah, I think that's the topic of this.
Okay.
The 90s Starman, the late 90s Starman was way more popular than all the other versions combined. So I'll give them that. It's not. We're not saying that a reboot is better or worse. It's just they just keep rebooting.
The first issue special, which was a series title. Starman, written by Jerry Conway. Jerry Conway is a great writer, by the way. He understands character writing.
Nice.
He did a really good one-issue Starman story that I wish would have went somewhere, but it didn't. It's like, oh well.
So they Steve Ditko version after that in like the 80s. And you're like, oh, okay, let's see what Steve Ditko can do with this, because he does all this crazy. You've seen his like Dr. Fate stuff and Shade the Changing Man. He just goes way out there. And I don't know if he was like really busy or just not that into the project, but like the art is good, but like the panel layouts are very okay. There's 2 or 3 in this row and then this row, and there's no variation in the execution of it. It's one of those things you don't necessarily consciously notice while you're reading, but
it throws off the flow of the story, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but that kind of stuff actually does. It makes it feel disjointed or whatever.
When all the panels are uniform in size, it is kind of, this looks mechanical.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the version where he's a prince of like a planet, and he has like a royal tattoo on his forehead.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure J.K. Rowling was like, oh, yeah, well, if I can't get the rights to Starman, maybe I'll just make my own story.
And then she became a billionaire.
Yeah. How did it go? Somebody tried to assassinate him, and he had to pretend that he was dead. And so his sister became the leader of the planet, and he has to just be Starman and cover his face in a mask so people don't know. I don't think his sister tried to assassinate him, but there was kind of a like, she can't find out he's alive. But he keeps rescuing her from people that want to do her harm as well. And, not knowing who he is, she's like, oh, well, thank you, Knight. You saved me. You can have my love. And it's like, no, I really can't. But I can't tell you why.
Interesting. There's so many different setups for secret identities.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, that Starman is in Adventure Comics.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Again, with the Adventure Comics.
Adventure Comics was an anthology series, so quite often they would have Aquaman was in there for a long time.
Plastic Man got thrown in there.
Plastic Man. Supergirl had a long run there as well.
Superboy was there.
Dial H for Hero.
There you go.
For the major one, Legion of Superheroes.
Yes, Legion.
How did they get crammed into that?
It was...
I thought Legion never got canceled.
When it became its own thing, yes.
Then it didn't ever get canceled.
Well, I mean, you could argue how that's done, but yes.
They were recurring characters in Superboy.
Yeah.
And then slowly it became Superboy and the Legion. And then they just kind of like, we really want Superboy. So they kind of like, spun him off.
And it made no sense anyway.
So Superboy was an Action Comics story. So the adventures of Superman when he was a boy. So it was Action Comics and probably the Superman as well. And he didn't get his own title of just Superboy for a while. So he would appear in Adventure Comics and do the regular team up with the Legion, which became super popular because it was science fiction based.
Legion's the best, dude. How have they never made a Legion movie? I'm sure they will someday.
Because they can't even do Superman, right?
I know. But
there was an animated series that some people like of Legion of Superheroes.
Did they do one?
Yes. I never saw it. It could be good. I hope it is. It went for 2 or 3 seasons.
It's more modern, though?
Yes.
Yeah, it was like around when Teen Titans was on.
Oh, okay.
So like the first
one. Teen Titans, stop.
just stop already.
No, as opposed to Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, we get it.
Teen Titans.
These are the jokes you get on the Pennyman.
Welcome to Pennyman, folks.
Do you know who was on that Legion show?
No.
Timberwolf is played by I just had his name. Well, he was the guy on Family Matters that played Waldo.
Waldo Geraldo Faldo?
Yeah.
Is that the actor or the character?
That's the character's
name.
Or both.
I'm sure he doesn't want to go back to that character anytime soon.
Remember he was on Punky Brewster?
Yeah. He was like the same character.
Right, he ended up he was like stalking Cherry or whatever.
Yeah. It was his girlfriend on Family Matters. Yeah.
Jerry Johnson. Oh my goodness. Good times.
Did the Legion ever meet the X-Men?
No.
But the X-Men got that fake team that I hate.
There was a popular run of Legion of Superheroes where the artist was Dave Cockrum.
Yeah.
Dave Cockrum then moved from DC to Marvel and was working on X-Men.
Made the X-Men.
And essentially, made...
Didn't he design some of them?
Yes.
He did the beginning of the all new, all different era.
Yeah.
He definitely created Nightcrawler and I think Storm.
That's what I was thinking too.
And I don't know about Storm, but Nightcrawler was part of a pitch for a spin-off of the Legion that they rejected. And
there you go.
He just carried it over to the competition.
The Futurians.
What's that? that's another story.
Yeah. So anyway, so
I mean, we could throw a couple other teams into this discussion, but
so Dave Cockrum working at X-Men, and they were doing their Phoenix Saga.
Yeah.
Where they go into space and they meet these alien
the
teams.
Galactic Guardians.
Yes. No. Imperial Guard.
Yeah, the
Imperial
Shi'ar.
Guard.
Is that the team you hate, or are you talking about the Starjammers?
No, I like the Starjammers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't like the Imperial Shi'ar Guard because they're not mutants. They just have powers.
Most of them are analogs to Legion of Superheroes characters.
Yes.
Dave Cockrum wanted whoever was working on Legion at the time to like see these comics and be like, oh, that's funny. Why don't we do the same thing with the X-Men characters and Legion stuff? But no one did. It's like, oh, I mean.
Still? Yeah, I guess not.
DC's Freedom Fighter comics fought a villain team that were analogs to Marvel's Invaders. So there's that.
You're close on that. It's not quite the same thing.
Steve Englehart did the Celestial Madonna story in the Avengers comics at Marvel, then where he introduced Mantis. And he went over to DC, wrote an issue of Justice League where he had a character that was basically Mantis.
Willow, right?
Yes. And then he went off to, what was the title? Or the company? Eclipse? It may have been Eclipse.
We're going to go with it.
That sounds like the right time period.
And he worked on...
We don't do any research during the show, ladies and gentlemen.
He worked on Coyote, which had a character named Scorpio Rose, and that had two official issues and then a third one that wasn't reprinted. Scorpio Rose was another analog of Mantis. So it's played up as it's the same character going to all these different comic universes.
No, see, then that's how they screw it up.
But it's all at Steve Englehart.
I get what you're saying.
I really hope it's Steve Englehart because that's the name I could think of.
That sounds right.
We could find a lot of examples of that, of like a writer taking a concept to different.
Yeah.
With Jack Kirby went to Pacific Comics and made Captain Victory, and the implication was supposed to be that Captain Victory was the son of DC's Orion, and thus his grandfather, the villain, is supposed to be the same person as Darkseid.
But this is a Marvel character.
Darkseid and Orion are DC.
Yeah.
And then Captain Victory is Pacific Comics.
Oh, Pacific Comics. Okay.
Yeah. Who remembers that company?
But he's in continuity with technically
air quotes in continuity. Yes.
If you want it to be, it can fit with the DC comics.
Yes.
Okay.
Or like, I don't remember if he ever actually did this. He did a bunch of art, but when Ken Penders left Archie Comics working on the Sonic comic, he had created a bunch of characters for them, and was like, I got a claim on these. And
no, I know
it's complicated. We won't get, but they decided not to use those characters, and he decided to leave.
Right.
But he was going to take one of his characters and make his own comic, though was it Knuckles' daughter?
I don't know much about the Sonic comics.
Okay, I think it was like where they have like Sonic stories that take place in the future. Like Knuckles has a daughter. I believe that was the character he was. And obviously, he had to completely redesign her to look less like Sega's Knuckles.
Looks exactly like an echidna, right?
Yes.
Sonic looks exactly like a hedgehog.
And nothing like Felix the cat.
That is what they look like, isn't it?
Yeah.
They look like something, but it has nothing to do with actual animals or actual. That's funny. I never realized that he does. His eyes and head are very similar, and body proportions. Is he older than? Is that like the oldest cartoon star, Felix, or was the clown guy even older?
Coco. I do believe Coco came first.
The same time period, though.
I mean, Felix was a bigger star, but
yeah.
Well, in Disney's Alice comedies, the animated cat and that, Julius was after Felix, I think. So they started to change things about the character to be more Felix-like.
Oh.
Like more expressive tail and stuff like that.
There's so many characters that look just like that. There's a Looney Tune that looks just like, right? Isn't there a cat? Like
there was a couple,
not Gabby. Gabby's a goat.
Beans. Porky and Beans.
Yeah. Pork and Beans. And then nobody remembers Beans.
Right. That'd be a good movie. Have him come back and like, Porky, you left me.
I don't doubt any of that kind of stuff anymore. I didn't see that Chip and Dale movie, but didn't they just pull random characters out of the woodwork?
We were discussing that on the way over here. It's like really random characters.
It's not even just Disney stuff.
Yeah.
It's just whoever they felt like it.
But not even like famous, popular stuff. Like weird, random, like anyone could come back.
Yeah.
They could reboot anything
But I mean, that's a good feeling, but I don't know, like
maybe better.
Wreck-It Ralph was just video games.
See, there you go. There's so many things like that now where it's like, a full universe. Like every Pixar movie is like, what if bugs could talk? What if cars could talk? What if this could talk? What if it's like Wreck-It Ralph makes sense because I guess they're all in an arcade together. Yeah. Although why some of those characters are not arcade characters because they talk to like King Koopa and stuff.
Right.
So that doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'm sure you can find some argument.
I'm
sure you can find some argument to how he's an arcade
how he's
character
in there
because of the arcade version of Mario Kart or something like that. GXP, is that you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm just saying they make these crossover things, but they're so wide open and vague that it's just anything. But they're you got to condense it to like it's not just like any random video game because in Wreck-It Ralph they're in an arcade. It's like the ones that are actually in this arcade, which happens to be the ones that they could get the rights to, obviously.
Like, I like Batman and I like the Kool-Aid Man, but I don't...
You understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, like I don't necessarily want the Kool-Aid Man to randomly show up in a Batman story.
Unless they come up with right. There has to be some conceit to it, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Like the second Space Jam movie.
See, that's a good example.
Where they just, at least you have the confines of this is just Warner Brothers properties.
But who knows
there's
what
no reason for them other than to show off what they own. Like, why are you doing Clockwork Orange references in a Space Jam movie?
Is that really, do they say it in universe? Because I haven't seen that, but I know what happens.
They have a bunch of actors dressed up as characters from different movies, mostly the Batman movies.
What do they say, like, we're going to Earth 3 where Batman lives, and now we're going to Earth 4 where the Game of Thrones lives? Or do they literally say, we're going to all the Warner Brothers properties? Like, they
go about, let's go over here. Oh, it's Harry Potter over here. Oh, it's over here. Oh, it's Game of Thrones over here.
They go into the Matrix movie.
Yeah.
And they just have...
I forgot about that.
But they've seen the Matrix movie.
Yes.
It's not like us going into Dimension 35 and it's stuff we've never heard about. It's like us going into the Clockwork Orange or the Matrix or something we've seen.
Right. It's supposed to be like you're going to Disney World and going to all the different lands.
Okay. But it's Warner Brothers lands.
There's a Wizard of Oz planet and you just see the witch flying around it and stuff like that. But like, okay, Rick and Morty have like a couple of lines in the movie. Like they...
Of course.
Because... Rick and Morty, The Matrix, whatever happened to Baby Jane, Orange. These are all fine for children, but Pepe Le Pew, that's just inappropriate.
Right. Giving all of that, like, I swear they just said that to make a public appearance or a public relations thing. Like, they had no intention of using Pepe Le Pew from the get-go.
I think you're right.
If you just said nothing, nobody would even notice.
Exactly.
The first Space Jam used as many of the characters they could possibly animate.
Beaky is in there.
Yeah, Beaky Buzzard's in there.
Yep.
I love that guy.
The second one was they knew that they couldn't or weren't ready to do full Looney Tune jokes with Looney Tune characters. So it's just, here's enough to represent what Looney Tunes is. Just like there was enough to represent what Batman was. There was enough to do a Game of Thrones. And it's just,
which I've also never watched, but...
Yeah, I knew that. No desire to see Game of Thrones. That's just me. If you like it, good for you.
I got to where the guy was sleeping with his sister, and I'm like, I'm done.
Done with that.
Yep.
This is a weird theme we're going back to in these.
Yeah, I don't. This is not by design.
Speaking of Pepe Le Pew, who else did they cut out of the movie? Is Speedy Gonzalez in the movie?
He is, and he's played by a Hispanic actor, so that's
okay then.
Yeah. And that's fine. I have absolutely no problem. Mel Blanc is not with us anymore, so just...
They use enough of the main A-list Looney Tunes characters. Like Marvin the Martian shows up, but he doesn't contribute to anything. They were very understanding of who they could make into a 3D model and what they could do with that.
Oh.
Personally, I dislike.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what jokes you would expect of a Looney Tunes character they reserved for LeBron James.
Yeah, when he became a cartoon like them and he's flat, like he did all the Looney Tunes jokes.
Gotcha.
He just arrives in Looney Tunes land or whatever they call it.
Right.
And those are funny.
I just wish the Looney Tunes would have done Looney Tune jokes.
That they had to have Game of Thrones do Looney Tune jokes.
I don't understand that.
So are they going to make Space Jam 3?
Oh, no doubt. They're just going to keep pumping anything that has a name associated with it. That's just Hollywood as it is now.
This is the stuff we have the rights to, the movie 3.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing so much with Ghostbusters, which I know that it's run by a team that's focusing solely on Ghostbusters, but still,
the Ghostbusters expanded universe.
Right, I don't think it's necessary. The first two I'm perfectly fine with, and then the Afterlife I enjoyed.
It's a good ending.
Yeah, it's a good way to stop the franchise, but
does it fit with that video game?
I don't remember the video game very well.
It doesn't go out of its way to contradict it. Mm-hmm. I think the same with like the real Ghostbusters. It's like I didn't say this didn't happen, but I'm not going out of my way to acknowledge it either. So
they should just make a show like that. I don't know why it has to be movies. Like, who cares? Why don't they just make like a Netflix show of like the real Ghostbusters?
Yeah,
that wouldn't suck, or maybe it would, but they'd at least be able to do whatever they want.
It could be, but I don't know.
They could change it more and do different.
Oh yeah,
is Arsenio Hall still alive?
Yes.
Okay, it can be
Winston again.
Yeah.
Is that what they did?
Yes.
Because then he was replaced by Buster Jones, right?
Is Buster Jones still alive?
No.
Oh, that's too bad. I liked him.
Buster Jones was Blaster on Transformers. And Doc on G.I. Joe.
He
got turned into a whale.
Oh, and that's right. And he played Black Vulcan on Super Friends with Ernie Hudson, who played Cyborg.
Was that Ernie Hudson?
It was.
Yeah. Wow.
All loops together sometimes.
It usually does.
I mean,
it's like the 5 degrees of Ernie Hudson.
Super Friends based on Justice League, which is what we started this whole conversation.
Or you could go back to Ghostbusters and be like,
yeah.
Supposedly Bill Murray got Lorenzo Music fired from being Venkman because he sounded too much like Garfield, and then 20 years later Bill Murray played Garfield.
That's right.
Like Garfield.
Yeah. I really wanted to, if they're doing all this stuff with Ghostbusters, I want to be part of them doing a Filmation's Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters was originally a TV show in the 70s.
Right.
That was owned by the company Filmation, who got their claim to fame years later doing He-Man and She-Ra.
Fat Albert,
yeah. So Ghostbusters, the show, went for one season.
It's a live-action show.
Live-action show starring Forrest Tucker and Larry Storch and Bob Burns as the gorilla.
Yes, they're the F Troop guys.
And Bob Burns.
And Bob, yeah.
So when they were making the movie Ghostbusters, they had filmed one of the last sequences where the whole crowd is shouting Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters. And they were informed that they didn't have the rights to the name.
Right.
So they had to make an agreement with Filmation, which basically went, okay, you can call the movie Ghostbusters, but we're going to make a cartoon based on our show.
Called Ghostbusters.
So they made an animated series that had Pat Fraley, Peter Cullen. Who voiced the gorilla?
A real gorilla.
It's Lou Scheimer.
Was it still Lou Scheimer? Okay,
yeah.
Lou Scheimer, the owner of the company, oftentimes, or one of the owners, oftentimes did the voices of almost all the
random
characters.
Yeah, he's Orko and Trapjaw and...
Yeah. So, okay, there was the animated series of Ghostbusters by Filmation. Columbia, who owned the movie, it's like, well, why don't we make money off of a cartoon? So we'll do it in a way that's really a jerk move by calling it the real Ghostbusters.
And they were. Those are the real Ghostbusters. Those are the ones with the monkey. Nobody remembers them. But
they're great. I enjoy those very much.
Yeah.
But I also enjoy the real Ghostbusters.
That will get a reboot, too. Yeah. It'll be called The Original Ghostbusters.
The Filmation one is pretty silly, even by Filmation standards. I'll give it that. And the real Ghostbusters was probably the best written 80s action cartoon show.
Yep.
In the first two seasons.
It's better written than He-Man, though.
It's creepy as all out, because there's some like J. Michael Straczynski written ones that are off the wall. Like, this is so, like, they got turned into giant chickens.
Yeah.
They were like melting in the ooze at one point.
Yeah, it's a lot of kind of dark, a little mature. There's a lot of
It's better writing
jokes
than the Turtles.
Yeah, it was
by and large. I mean, just how the plots fit together.
It was meant for an older audience.
Yeah.
So anything this out of Robotech, it was probably the best writing that they had on Saturday mornings. And then the parents group got a hold of it, and season 3 onward, just the teeth were filed off of everything.
Is that when they did Slimer and the real
Yes, yeah, they switched the focus to Slimer. Venkman couldn't be sarcastic.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
He's Uncle Joey by that point, right?
Yeah, that's when they switched actors to Dave Collier.
Alanis Morissette's boyfriend.
Yes.
What?
I'll tell you about that later. She wrote a song about him.
Oh, I did not know this.
Yeah. Janine, instead of just being written like Venkman's bratty little sister as an adult, like she's written more like the team mom, and I was like, that's all right. But yeah. And I'm sure they all read Justice League comics.
Yes. Good callback to what started this off.
To the actual top. So what's the topic of this episode?
Do you want these comics?
I'll take these comics.
Okay.
Should I look at these comics next?
Oh, probably. I don't even know what's in this stack.
I offer
Tom
comics.
also brought me comics.
Tom
correct?
brought more.
These are also for me?
Yes.
If you want them.
I'll probably take them.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing me comics, guys.
Yeah.
I have this one. X Factor number 81. I don't have this. Starjammers number 0. Number 2. This is rad. The Starjammers are cool.
So Cyclops' dad and some other people.
This one's for you.
Oh, right, yeah. I actually put a Star Trek one in there, which we'll work towards pushing into that frame some other day.
We'll have a fantasy draft lineup on Star Trek someday.
The hardcore.
Was that Valiant's hardcore?
Yeah.
I have a couple of Valiant ones on there.
Got some X Factors. I love X Factor. The
Gregory
90s
gets
X-Factor.
the like original X-Men team X Factor, and I get the all different X Factor just to.
Oh right, because around issue 70 they switched. Maybe it was 80. It was whenever the Muir Island saga was.
Yeah, I'm just gonna buy.
Dude, here we got an Adventure Comics.
Oh yeah,
starring Superboy.
This is probably awesome.
Is that Kurt Swan art?
I hope so.
I am amazed at Kurt Swan stuff.
Yeah, he was.
Joe Staton and Jack Abel.
Oh yes.
Oh, Joe Staton, he's great too.
Did they both do pencils? They must.
Typically when they're listed both at the same time, it's either a like back and forth, like, okay, I drew this much, you draw that much, or they'll ink each other's stuff, or one will come up with the layouts.
Yeah.
And the other one will do the finished art.
Wally Wood would do that a lot in his Marvel stuff.
Wally Wood is an amazing artist that I wish wasn't so depressed.
Oh.
Because he does such great stuff and has he was one of the original Mad Magazine artists.
Yeah.
So he has this like satirical style he loves to dive into. But he was always disappointed with stuff he did. When he was working on All-Star Comics, when they revived the Justice Society, he designed Power Girl, and he was convinced that no one was paying attention to what he was doing. So the story goes that he would increase her bust size every time he drew her, which if you look at the art, it's really hard to tell. And supposedly when they found out, they told him to stop. He's like, oh, whatever. And then was off the book because he was just kind of tired of it at that point. And then who took over was Joe Staton.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
We keep seeing him at conventions and we don't directly talk to him, but he like overhears conversations we're having, and he laughs and we laugh, and it's a good time.
Although I'm convinced we would talk to him a little bit about Fearless Fosdick. And he was working on the Dick Tracy comic strip at the time. And like a year later, they did the crossover. And I'm not sure if it's because of us, but I want to feel like it's because of us.
We're not asking for money, Joe. We're just saying.
Yeah, you're great, and I love that you did that. Please continue.
Well, if you want to give us money, that I wouldn't say no to that.
He'll probably take more free ideas from you if you have some.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Staton also co-created The Huntress, the daughter of Batman and Catwoman.
So he got the Supergirl reboot and the Batgirl reboot at the same...
Yep.
Oh, it's cool beans.
Paul Levitz was the writer. But Staton stayed on Huntress for quite some time.
Even in post-crisis.
Yeah. There was a 16-issue series she had post-crisis, and he did all the art for that. Then they did a 4-issue series that he did all the art for. And then she started appearing in like Birds of Prey or something like that.
Joe Staton also did some really good Plastic Man stuff. That was like a dream assignment.
Because Joe Staton created E-Man.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
It's E, not he.
Right.
What are those guys' powers?
stretchy.
Well, he's like atomically powered, so he can stretch, but that's not. He's not like a Plastic Man ripoff. It's
gotcha.
You've actually read it, Tom. I don't think I've read it.
Well, I collect them all. I don't read them.
Oh,
no.
He just collects them.
Every once in a while, Joe Staton revives the character. It's a creator-owned character.
Oh, okay.
So he jumped around companies. He was at like First for a while. He was at Charlton. He was at some other ones. Comico, probably.
Yes. He did the last E-Man story a couple of years ago.
Was that at the new Charlton Comics?
Could be.
Okay.
You'll never know.
I'm going to read them. I just haven't yet. I want to read them when I have all of them. There was one I thought I had. It was just a duplicate of another one. It was just the numbering of a different series.
Who was that guy?
I cannot see that from here. Oddball. Our Oddball.
What does he do?
He was a backup to something.
Is he good?
He's not a villain.
Oh, this is an advertisement for the DC Explosion.
The Explosion.
What'd they do to Big Barda's costume?
Followed by the DC Implosion, which probably had no ads.
Enemy Ace, the Ray, OMAC.
Yeah, they when they redid the New Gods without Jack Kirby, they changed everybody's costume. Well, not everybody, but like several. Like Orion's got a more superhero looking outfit. It doesn't have that helmet.
Oh yeah, that was dumb.
You're dumb. You designed a dumb thing. What else is dumb? Did you go over how much you didn't like Zatanna's outfit when she joined the Justice League?
Okay, so Zatanna.
The Justice League.
Zatanna was the magic character of the Justice League, and she would just appear once in a while in Justice League comics. And she was kind of regular in World's Finest at one point.
Okay.
But she had like the traditional stage magician. She had like fishnet stockings. She had the tuxedo coat and a top hat. Well, someone decided that was a bad idea. And so the redesign, when she officially joins the Justice League, it's this, like, I don't know what you call it, some sort of like unitard with pants attached, no sleeves, has the window on the chest, has a stupid cape, and her hair's up in a ponytail, and it just does not look like Zatanna.
We're probably thinking it looked more like a superhero.
I guess.
Or it looked less 60s or something. Like some looks do get stale after a while. Like, you got to keep things going.
Like removing Superman's underwear.
Okay, no, screw that.
He doesn't have it anymore.
I thought they gave him it back now.
I don't know.
Well, it'll probably go back and forth from now on.
I mean, it's the classic Superman look. They definitely had it for issue 1000.
Sure, not the armor or whatever. And that brings us to the end of the first exciting episode of Penny Men.
Thank you for listening.
We'll have more topics and more laughs for you very soon. Over and out.
Peace.